Yo guys, what is up? Welcome back to the new video. I'm the Casual Racing Gamer. Today we are going to be talking about GT7 single player mode, multiplayer mode. If you're playing single player, what I think you must be using or you're not getting the full potential of what this game is all about, and also why I don't play single player mode. We'll talk about it all. We are going to be watching a race. This is Daily Race B at Trail Mountain. And a big thing about this race is I finally got to race with D. Schechter, who has been a huge part of our community here. So anytime I can get into a race with you guys, that is so amazing. It doesn't happen often. I hope to see a lot more of you guys more often in these daily races that we can get grouped up in. So when I actually see someone from the community, I get excited. It's good to race with you guys. So let's get into the race right now. And I have a lot of things I want to talk about with the game overall and the different modes and all of that. So let's start the race. Let's start talking. So D. Schechter was starting P3. Had a really good qualifying time. I am starting P6 in this race, and I needed a good finish in this race. I haven't had a good finish in a long time, so I was looking for something decent in the top half of the grid as opposed to the bottom half of the grid. So I was able to run a decent qualifying to get me towards like the middle of the pack here. So I was a little excited about that. But yeah, let's talk about it. So GT7 first. And I hear you guys. So I don't play single player mode because I like instant gratification when it comes to racing games. When it comes to video games in general, I like things that I can just hop in, play immediately, and action. I like full action right from the start. The thing with single player mode in GT7 is I think it's a great game if you want to know about the history of cars, if you want to learn about the car, if you want to learn about this and you want to learn about that and you want to do a lot of reading. I'm not a fan of that when I hop into a video game like a racing game. I race because I just want to race. I want to enjoy the racing. And like I said, I want instant gratification. And if you're playing the single player mode in GT7, which I think is probably one of the best single player racing games, if you are into racing and cars and like a car enthusiast, that's a hard word for me to say. Car enthusiast. If you're a car enthusiast, this is the game to play, right? But I just like to race, so that's why I do multiplayer daily races. But the game has so much potential for people who like cars in general and the history of cars, but there's just too much reading for me. And one thing I don't like about single player mode is I have to play through single player mode to achieve a lot of the tracks in the game and unlock them. And I just don't do it. Once I unlocked the online mode, I never went back to single player mode. So that's a frustration for me because I want to get tracks and I want to be able to unlock all the tracks. And the only way for me to do that is to play through single player mode. And I'm at this point, I don't think I'm going to do it. So there's so many tracks I won't unlock because of that. And that's a little frustration for me because there's so much reading and you have to go to you have to have like a menu when you go to this room and that room, and there's so many different places and you got to move around. And I just like to go in a menu, pick something. If I want to do something to my car, you go into the menu, you do it. But here it's like if you want to change like something with your car on like the paint job, you have to go to this spot or that spot on the map. So it's a great game for people who want to spend time with a single player game. But here's my thing, and a lot of you guys, have said to me in comments in my past videos, and I hear you guys. I totally hear you. I totally get the appreciation for the single player mode of GT7, where there's so many great things if you love cars, and there's so many old cars, new cars, middle-aged cars. There's so much here for people who love cars. And here's my thing. If you guys are playing single player mode, you are not getting the full potential of GT7 if you're not in PSVR2. I think in order to appreciate every single one of these different cars and appreciate the innards of the car and the dashboard and how you sit in a car and all the mirrors and what it feels like to be in that car, you must have VR. You must have PSVR2. You are not getting the full potential of this game if you are on a flat screen. Like if you are a car enthusiast and you enjoy all these different cars, you must have PSVR2. If you do not have PSVR2, you are missing out on so much of this game. And this is an issue with me. This is an issue with me with Sony. This is an issue with me with Polyphony Digital, who the makers of the game, where is the promoting of this? Where is, I don't understand. This game alone can sell PSVR2 headsets. You can't do that with all these other games that are coming out. They have like Some games look good, don't get me wrong. Some VR games look good, but some of these games look like they're from like old school NES graphics. GT7 on PSVR2 is such a next gen looking racing game in VR. So you get past like the graphics because the graphics are great. So it's not like, oh, but we're getting really cheesy bad graphics in this racing game. You are getting the full GT7 game in VR, which is amazing. And they should be pushing and selling this as this game can sell headsets. This game alone can sell headsets. People buy VR headsets for sim racing alone. They might not play anything else in VR. Like myself, I usually don't play any VR games besides racing games. And I have 4 headsets now that I bought for VR that I use for sim racing alone. I think the Quest 3 is actually my first headset that I've really been using outside of sim racing because I love the mixed reality in it, and that's literally my first headset that I've been using outside of sim racing. I buy my headsets for sim racing only, and just because this is a console, it shouldn't be different. There's such an untapped market for VR and sim racing on console, and PlayStation has it. There's no one else competing right now. They should be throwing this at people's faces. Racing this car, that car from 1964, from 1974, from 1980, 2000, racing a GT3 car. Sim racing and VR is the most realistic VR experience you can possibly have. It's so unlike any of these other games where you're standing up but you're moving because you're moving a controller. Like, you are literally feel like you're in the car. The only thing you are literally missing is the G-forces of a car. Besides that, you feel like you're driving a car. You're sitting in your seat. You have a wheel and pedal set. If you use a wheel and pedal set, you are literally driving the car. There's nothing else missing besides that point except for G-forces. So, it is the most realistic VR experience you can possibly have. And I know so many people who have never even enjoyed racing games. I know you guys leave comments all the time. I've never even raced in any of these games. I had no interest in it. But once I raced in GT7 in VR, I ran out and I bought a whole sim rig. I think that's crazy. That is crazy. And then think about it. People buy a sim rig for this one game. You can spend $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 for a sim rig. But then people is this headset worth it just for one game? Well, if that sim rig is worth it for just one game, then why wouldn't the VR headset be worth it for one game, right? It's the same thing. It's part of the whole experience. It's part of the whole equipment that will make you feel like you are actually driving these cars. You can't get that from a flat screen. You don't feel like you're in the car. Even if you use the cockpit view, you're not getting the full field of view that you should be getting when you're on a flat screen. You don't feel like you're in the car. If you sit on the left side of a car, the right side of a car, the middle of the car, you're not going to feel the difference when you're racing on a flat screen, whether you use cockpit view, which most people don't use. They use the standard bumper view or something. So you don't even feel like you're in the car. You put that VR headset on and you feel like you're in every single car. Every single car feels different, acts different. You totally have to adjust for every car that you sit in when you're using a VR headset, as opposed to using a flat screen, which everything is basically the same. They should be selling this. This is such a, GT7 making this whole thing, a whole game in VR is so huge for console sim players, and they opened up the door, and there's so much potential here that they need to keep pushing it. Sony needs to give incentives for ACC to throw in a VR mode. They need to F1 game, throw in a VR mode, any future racing game. These games can sell headsets. It doesn't matter if you release any other VR game outside of sim racing. Sim racing, racing games for VR headsets sell systems. They will sell headsets. They will sell sim rigs. There's just so much potential here. And if you guys are playing single player mode, I'm telling you, get yourself a VR headset if you really enjoy cars, if you're a car enthusiast and you love racing different cars at different tracks and just going for a cruise even. A lot of you guys say you love to just cruise around on a track and just enjoy it, driving an old school car. You can't get the experience if you're not in VR, and it's so hard to explain it until you actually put the headset on and understand what I'm talking about. For guys that have VR, you guys totally know what I'm talking about. But if you have not tried VR, yes, this game is totally worth it just for the headset alone. Any sim racing game that you are going to play continuously, and the replay value of a racing game like this is more than almost any other video game out there, which gives you your money's worth. It's the same reason why you buy a pedal set, you buy a wheel, right? My whole setup originally was for iRacing on PC. I bought everything just for one game, just for iRacing. I set up a sim rig setup. I got my VR headset just for iRacing. It's one game. Console is no different. People look at a console differently because it's like, why would I buy a VR headset for just one game? Well, people do it on PC all the time. Yes, there's multiple games you can play on PC that support it, but most people have their game and they play that game and they buy all that stuff for that game. And console is no different. We should get future sim racing games all supporting VR, all supporting PSVR2. This is next level. This is where it's at. This is, I can't even race on a flat screen anymore. You know, that's my frustration with them not really pushing the headset. And unfortunately with them not pushing the headset, you know, it's kind of like GT7's not getting VR updates and we're not seeing VR coming to future racing games that we know of right now for console. And that's really unfortunate because I think there's such a market, an untapped market for console sim racers. So let me know if you guys agree with me. Let me know if you have any comments down below. Leave it down below for anyone on the fence, maybe thinking about a VR headset. You know, let them know your experience as well. Anyway, thanks for watching. That was a really good race. D Schechter coming right in before me. So, you know, we both had a good finish. That was really good racing with you. So that was really fun. Like I said, I love seeing you guys out there on the track. And hopefully I get to see a lot more of you guys out there. So yeah, hop into daily races, guys, if you're not doing it. And maybe we'll bang into each other. So yeah, thanks for watching. Thumb up the video, subscribe. We'll catch you on the next one. We out of here. Peace.